Hey guys, my name is Sean Elders and this is Pinnacle Combat Arts. Like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the bell so you can be notified every time we get a new video. Today we're going to be talking about short stick and how to implement it in combat. Let's get started. Short stick or mid-range sword, okay? It could be a long knife. In the Philippines, a lot of times this is the length of a knife that they carry. Short stick is probably one of my favorite, just for the simple fact that our range changes a little bit, and to me it's a little bit more closer to this different variation of combat that I really enjoy. So a lot of times short stick may just have a short little puño in the end, a little butt at the end that we can strike with, sometimes, depending on the weight, you want to have something that's a little bit more weighted, like a collapsible baton would have a little bit more weight on the end, so it gives you a little bit more for striking. Then you have the edge aspect, where a lot of times the blade would have a little bit more of a meaty side, so it has a good bite when it makes contact with flesh. So those are a couple different things that you can think about when you're looking at short stick. But I enjoy it, and I think it's very important to implement it in your training. And it is a cross between the stick work or sword work and knife work or short weapon, okay? So let's go ahead and start. So one of the things we're gonna do is we're just gonna talk a little bit about what's different about it, what I like about it, and the other part of it is how do we implement it? Well, the range is gonna change a little bit because we can get a little bit closer, okay? If you have a longer weapon, obviously you have to dictate your range of combat is dictated based on the length of that weapon. You're either going to break in or break out from the length of the weapon. So that's one of the things. So for instance, when we're training, we're going to practice and talk about how to break in and out of each range. This is probably one of the most important aspects to weapons, is learning your ranges separately and then incorporating those ranges together, okay? And that's a very important part of it. So we have long range like this. We put out our weapon and we can cut here all the way from the hand here. If I take one step, this is what we call largo mano range. If I go in a little bit closer and I can check the hand, I can strike to the head. This is middle range or medro mano range. If I go a little bit closer, this is called corto mano or close quarter range. And so that is a very important part of how we need to differentiate. Once we differentiate and we understand the difference, then how do we blend those things together to make sense of them? So one of the things we can do is we can just do one, and then we go low and high like this. So lop tick with tick, just like that. And so we stay out in this range, and then when I want to move in, I could just simply go in with a roof like this, and then we're doing basic sombrado. Yep. So we'll stall. Yep. Okay, and then if I want to go in a little bit further, I can go from the drop stick, I move in, and then we can go here, just like that. All right, and so just like in our knife work we were doing a couple previous videos ago, we can go for 2 for 2. Okay, we can go back out. Okay, we could do one passing, so it's going like this. Doing guillotines, okay? And if it's an impact weapon, we want to crash down on the elbow here or the radial nerve, okay? Crash down on the hip or the knee, come in the inside, crash down on the noggin. We can also come in and hit on the hand, okay? Ulnar nerve, brachial nerve, okay? We can stab. We can hit the rear hand here, okay? So if he does it, so for instance, if I'm going and doing it like this, my hand's up like this, as he could guillotine and hit the hand just like that, okay? And so those are a couple different things that we can do. We can go back in. I just stay right there, I wedge it out, and I pass it like this, tucking your head, okay? Back to hubud, basic hubud, okay? I take one step back, little lateral step, and then I give a 1, and we go back into the 5 count. Okay, and then I move out to largo mono range. This is one of the basic. There are many patterns. It's just one of them. Okay, I step in. Well, then come in there. That's another way to go about it. Okay, always can go in through the roof. You can go and do that 1-4-1 on this side, 1-4-1, and back into the hubud. Okay, and then we go. I take a little step back into sombrata. Yep. And then largo mono. So when he does the one, I can do a roof going out, or I can step away and lean back and do a one. But when you do that, if you do an inside sweep or an inside deflection, you want to make sure your head is out of the way when you move from the middle range to the long range. Okay, that's very important. So if I'm, for instance, if I go roof, I can just move out like this, like that. If I'm in the inside deflection, I just want to make sure that I move my head back, doing what they call relastico. I'm moving my body, my head out of the way as I go. And then that would be a hand shot usually to move out, okay? And so those are the three basic ranges that you would do in working inside of this. Now, we can also incorporate what they call guillotines, okay? Scissoring motions, okay? So when I'm inside, for instance, what's nice is that when I'm inside of hubud, for instance, okay, and he gives me a number 3, I'm gonna take a little step back and I guillotine, and I give him a 2, and then we're back in going here like this, yep. Okay, so for instance, I feed him a number 3 right off this. He takes a little step back and goes. Now, ideally, yep, for some reason we want to go into sombrata, but let's see that again. So he gives me a 3. I'm going to take a little step back. Now, notice where my hand is. My hand is right on the weapon, okay? The knife hand, usually you would do it like this with a knife. Depending on what kind of weapon, depends on how long it is. Sometimes you will want to use the back part of the blade and cut the bicep. You come in, yep, and then we go in just like that, okay? And so I do the same thing, but the important part is he rocks back, hits, and then we go back in just like that, okay? Gives me the 3 when he wants, just like that. See that? Okay, and then I go here, yep, and he can deal with that attack. So one of the things I can do is if I go like this and he goes back and he gives me that 2, I can go here. If I'm early, I can go here. But if that point of that weapon is already out here, you do not want to hit the hand because the stick's still going to hit you in the head, okay? So that's an important thing. You want to get that timing down. Notice how I jammed his attack. That's one of the things you want to think about. So if you're late to the party, you want to go to the weapon. If you're early to the party, you go to the hand. If you're really early, when I come here like this and he does the cut, I can go in and do a thrust. But that is if you're early, okay? So see this? Boom, see that? And I'm already there, okay? And that would be right to the throat or stomach or eye socket, okay? So that's that. So we can also do it off the 4. See that? And he just goes here, yep, and I can come here and we go into it just like that, okay? And so he gives me the 4 and I can just pass it like that. That's one way I can do it. I can also, when he goes to the 4, I can C-cup it and crash down on the hand, just like that, okay? I can also do like what he did, which he did a low wing, just like that, and I C-cup it, just like that, and I hit, and then I go back in, all right? So there are many different variations to this, okay? There's with the force, against the force. That's another aspect to it. So for instance, if I'm here and I'm giving this force and he checks me and he gives me that 4 real quick, I've got to come down like that, okay? And that's with the force because I'm coming down and bringing that weapon here. And I can also guide that weapon. And I could go to a disarm or whatever I want to do from there. But for right now, we want to think about that. Then there's against the force. So if he goes to do the 4, whatever, see that? That's against the force, going with it. And I also want to put this C-cup right behind it to make sure that I jam that attack because that force could be very strong. So, all right. All right. So now we go into sombrata, And we're just gonna do 2 for each range, okay? And so in this case, when I go here, after I do the roof, I'm gonna feed a 3. And he does a guillotine, I do an outside deflection, and we go back into the material, just like that, yep. So we go here. All right, so after he does the roof, he's gonna give me a 3. Yep, boom, just like that. Notice how I did that. I went like this, just like that. I moved my legs out of the way, got them out of the way, and boom, there it is, okay? So after the roof, I come in, and I do an outside deflection after he does the 3, and he practices doing the guillotine, okay? This helps get yourself into that more closer to live motion. It's obviously not live motion, okay? But it's helping you calculate and understand how the timing works. What am I supposed to do with my feet? What am I supposed to do with my hips when the attack comes in? Because we're in close, okay? And that's very important. So we go here, back into Huba, or actually let's do Sombrada, okay? And so now I'm gonna do the 7. We'll do a 7. So here, I come into this position, okay, after that roof, and then I just come in with a 7, just like that. And it's exactly the same way. 7. You guillotine, you're gonna go there. Boom. See that? So I just go here. Okay? 7. And so what I want to do is when that 7 comes in, I want to parry it, and I'm going for that bicep. And then I go right to a backhand, because that is the opening. So what's nice about these drills is it teaches you how to identify openings. It gets you to the point where you know, because if the thrust is here, where is he open? He's open right here. So I'm gonna parry that weapon out of the way and then get there, okay, before that closes, okay? And so there's obviously counters for that. So these are some of the exercises that I want you to work. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Go to our website, pinnaclecombatarts.com. There you can find out more about what I do and the classes that I provide. Thank you guys so much for your support, and have a great day.